dynamic duo is the authority on taking the overwhelm out of leading a healthy lifestyle. Champion you to build a foundation for health, happiness, and success. They are leading a revolution on physical, nutritional, and emotional empowerment, helping you find the balance between work, family, and self. They strive to maximize your personal success, overcome your challenges, transform your body, increase your energy, attain your goals, and focus on overall wellness so you can feel consistently better about yourself and can perform better in all aspects of your life. Let's take the overwhelm out and achieve balance through physical, nutritional, and emotional awareness. Introducing renowned health strategists, life trainers, global speakers, authors, coaches, entrepreneurs, motivators, the one and only powerhouse couple, Craig and Jenny D.
That's right. So how are you feeling this morning? Are you feeling better today, Jen, after last week? Or the 2 weeks ago?
You know what?
Really?
I'm doing great. We used all those remedies we talked about last time, and I healed up very quickly, and I'm feeling great, back energized. So we're running full steam ahead.
I tell you what, I tried that ginger tea you were telling me about, Craig.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I was like... I was running everywhere. I don't know what was going on with that, but I was like, flipping it every time. I parked the car up, run in a shop, and I'd be in the shop, pay and run out and run to the car. I'm thinking, God, I haven't run like this for about 10 years.
I love it. See, this stuff works. You get all that inflammation out of your body, and you can run circles around everybody. Yeah. So how many shopping trolleys full of goods did you buy after our conversation?
Oh, right. Well, I'll tell you a quick story about my escapade with a trolley when I've gone in the supermarket. You know, I don't know what they're like in the States, but in France, and it's the same in the UK, you'll always get a trolley. Doesn't matter. You can pick out of 100. You'll always pick the one that's got a wheel at the bottom that wants to go in one direction and then the others are. And it's out of control. So I've come out of the supermarket right with this trolley. This was last week, with this trolley. And over here they have a car, and it's called basically it's a tiny thing, and you can drive it without a driving license. It won't go over 30 miles an hour, but it's a death trap because it's that noisy when you're in it, you end up deaf. But the people that are driving it haven't got a driving license, so they're either alcoholics or they're 140 years of age, too old to have a driving license, right? Or they're too young to drive. So they'll get behind the wheel of these things, and they haven't got a clue about road safety and about the laws of the road. So anyway, I've come out of the supermarket with this trolley, and this old lady's coming at me with this car as I'm going across the level crossing in the car park. She's coming at me with this thing, and all you can hear is because it's like a go-kart, this thing, and it drowns out anything else around it. All you can hear one of these cars coming at you from about 300 yards away. Anyway, I can see this car coming at me. I'm thinking, she's not, because I'm walking along and she's coming at me virtually towards me, and I'm trying to steer the trolley away from her, you see. Well,
that's hysterical.
Full of things, but the trolley wouldn't move, and neither would she. She's not thinking, well, I'll steer to the side a little bit so I won't hit. She's coming right at me, the daft bat. So in the end, she stopped right in front of me, and my arms are coming out of my shoulders trying to stop the trolley before it hit the car. Because if the trolley hit the car, they've written the car off. There's more weight in the trolley than there is in these tin pot cars that they drive around. So,
it's like playing bumper trolleys there, David.
Oh, God. And her face, her eyebrows were going up to her fringe, thinking, I'm having a head-on collision here. We'll get an insurance quote here. Where there's a claim, there's a blame. And I'm thinking, stop the trolley. So I managed to get it out of the way, but oh, God, what a nutter this woman was. Anyway, enough of my life problems.
That's hysterical. That's great. That's great. Well, we are in for a special treat this morning. I know you've been chatting back and forth with our special guest. And we are just so excited. We actually had the opportunity to meet this lady back in November when we were out in Los Angeles, and Kamy Lavanchy from Switzerland. So she is a mindset strategist. We work very closely with her and our clients, and we are so excited to bring her on this morning because it's something that's so near and dear to Craig and I, because so many times when we think of our health and wellness, we think of what we're eating, nutrition, we think of the fitness side, but we rarely think of it from a mindset piece. And yet the mind controls everything that we are doing. And whether we know it or not, sometimes it's consciously the decisions we're making, sometimes it's actually subconscious. And so the work that Kamy does around the world is just so important in working with her clients and with our clients. And we are so excited to be able to bring her on this morning and have her share her story and talk a little bit about all of these pieces and how they work together so that we can help people begin, after the show today, start making some small changes in what's going on up in their mind to start putting their entire day in a different direction. So right now, we are actually going to head over and hear Let the Good Times Roll by B.B. King, and then we will be coming right back at you with Kamy Lavanchy out of Switzerland.
Let's go.
Right, we're back live with Craig and Jenny this morning.
Hello.
You right, pal? Right, we're back live with you now.
All right.
So there you go. I thought I'd give you a nice quiet start to the show there with a bit of BB, and then there's all sorts coming up a bit later on. So trust me, you'll have fun.
Awesome. Well, we are back. We're back with our special guest, Kamy. Kamy, are you with us now? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Awesome. We are so excited to have you here because, I will never forget the day that we met you back in November, and what a delight it was. It was like you were sent into our lives so that we could all connect and start changing some lives together. And what a journey it has been in these last couple of months. It's hard to believe it's only been a couple months.
This is true. I totally believe that.
Yeah. And so we wanted to start off, obviously time is limited this morning on the radio here, but really want to help people start making changes right away, leaving the show this morning. A lot of people are either on their lunch hour right now or driving to work if they're over here in the States with us. And so I wanted to start out really talking with you about why our mindset and our habits are our key to begin with, right? Because we all go through our day making a lot of these decisions, and sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's subconscious that we're making them. But why is our mindset and the habits that we have every day the key to finding sustainable wellness in our lives?
Well, that's really, really key. Let me start by saying this, which is something extremely important. So listen, guys, your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions, and your actions become your the habits that you take. So what's going on in your mind is really creating what your actions are. So it's extremely important for us to have the thoughts that are going to set us up for the day. What's really going to set us up for success, for example, for the day. If we're struggling and we're getting out of bed and we're like, oh, I'm so tired, that's not going to set us up to get to work and want to be productive and do something really creative.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
yeah.
That's absolutely so critical because it's really controlling all of the decisions that we make. And you and I have talked a lot about, and Craig, getting up and those first things that we're thinking in the morning and taking those 5 minutes to really set your intentions for the day of what that day is going to look like, and reassuring yourself that you believe in you and that the day is going to work out exactly as it's meant to. One of the things that I always live by is that my life is a perfect example of synchronicity and flow. And for all the listeners out there, remember that one. I'll say it again. My life is a perfect example of synchronicity and flow. And what that means is that no matter what's going on in our day, and Kamy, chime in here when you want to, is that if it's something great that's going on, then we should savor that and enjoy every moment of it while it is there. But if it is something that's going on that's challenging in our life, then we need to sit back and look at it and say, okay, it's challenging. What is it that I need to learn from this? Because the second we can learn from the challenges that we're facing, the sooner we can get through them and stop repeating that cycle in our life.
I believe that. That's so true, Jenny. And here's the thing. People hear all the time that 95% of what we're doing on a daily basis comes from our subconscious, and only 5% of what we're doing really comes from our conscious mind. And do people actually sit down and ask themselves, what do I think about this? Or what do I think about that? Or why am I actually doing this? And this is so critical. We're so automatically programmed, and we just go on about our day that we don't just really take the time to say, why am I doing that? And a lot of it has to do with our backstory. It really has to do with what's gone on for us when we were 6 and 7 years old. And I understand that this is hard for people to get their head around, but through a little bit of questioning and a little bit of probing, they can actually learn that their actions and reactions are not necessarily what's really coming from them and what they really choose to be and do, but it's coming from that subconscious mind that's stored in there, and it's based on action, reaction, as opposed to action and response. You were saying just a minute ago, as we're doing all these things, do we setting ourselves up in the morning for what's our day going to be like? That's not something that people typically think about or plan for. And it is so, so crucial to set yourself up.
Absolutely it is. And I'll give you a quick example when you talk about what has happened in our childhood that influences us every day. And it's something that I had to spend a lot of time working on. And Craig and I do mindset work constantly.
We do, yeah.
We work very closely with coaches that work with us on our mindset. And one of the things that came up a couple of years ago is that I had a fear of abandonment. And I thought, well, where in the heck did that come from? Nobody ever abandoned me, right? And so in looking deeper at it, it was so amazing because my best friend growing up that I knew from the time I was teeny tiny was a year ahead of me in school. And when we got to the point that I was leaving elementary and she was heading into middle or junior high, whichever you want to call that, she went off before me. And I was so distraught by this, more than I guess I ever knew, that she had left me behind in the other school and was going on to make new friends. And so I felt like I had been abandoned. And this actually had carried on with me all the way into adulthood and into all of my personal relationships. And it was controlling me in so many different aspects and how I was dealing with my relationships. And when I was able to acknowledge that and release that from my subconscious mind, I was able to have completely different relationships. Craig and I, our marriage completely changed because I no longer had this fear and this worry about that abandonment. And it's things like that that may seem insignificant. I had completely forgotten about that until I started doing this mindset work and had no idea that it was bothering me. But it's funny because when you hit the trigger of what it was, because I remember sitting there talking to the coach and just bursting into tears about this. And I thought, well, how ridiculous is that I'm sitting here crying over my best friend when I was 10 years old that was not intentionally causing me any harm. She was just going on to the next grade in school.
Exactly. And this is so, so important that you bring this up, Jenny. Thank you so much. Because here's another thing that people don't understand is not only is it affecting your relationship and just pretty much everything within your life, but it's also affecting your body. And for example, when I do this mind work, the way that I came to the mindset to be a mindset strategist is literally through massage. What happens is I'd be massaging people's body, and the body never lies. Our mind will always play tricks on us, but your body never lies. And during these massages, for example, I'd be in somebody's hips and I'd be like, whoa, there's a lot of guilt in here. And literally, the body was talking to me, it was literally telling me these things. And this is how I evolved into a mindset strategist. So afterwards, I would speak to the person and I would say, do you want to hear what your body's shared with me? And they'd say, sure. So this one particular person, for example, I said, your hips are screaming guilt. And she just fell apart. She started crying. She said, I have no idea what to do with it. I have so much guilt. And I was just, I was so surprised at first. And I said, well, look, here's what we can do. And, we had to go into the backstory. Where is the guilt coming from? What happened? What are you feeling guilty about? And sort of turn that story around, because so many of us, guilt, abandonment, rejection. We're all carrying this around with us and we don't even know it. Just like you said, who'd have thought, because my friend moved on to another class or another school, that I felt abandoned. Right. I just had another client, for example. She's been dealing with some shoulder pain, a lot of shoulder pain. And she came to the realization through this work and body work and mindset and asking questions about her grandfather had passed away. And she was 6 years old and her parents didn't want her to go to the funeral. And they didn't tell her that her grandfather passed away because they didn't want her to be upset. And, as a result of that, this poor woman has been carrying this around with her, like, what happened to grandpa? And she wasn't able to trust. So she was carrying so many things on her shoulders until finally she became aware of it. And she actually said to me yesterday, she said, Kamy, I'm actually afraid to say this out loud because I've carried this pain for so long, but I no longer have shoulder pain.
Oh, that is amazing. That is just such a cool story. Well, on that cool story, let's take another music break. We are going to go to the Stylistics and rock and roll, baby.
Coming to you live from Pennsylvania with Craig and Jenny D this morning, afternoon, evening. I haven't got a clue what time it is anyway. We're with our special guest, Kamy, today. Right, we're back with the guys now live.
All right, David. There we go. So we've got Kamy Lavanchy right now, and from Switzerland. And first of all, you are absolutely an amazing mindset coach. So we are so glad to have you on Up-Level Your Norm. So one of the questions that I've got for you is, whenever you look at people's mindset, Kamy, and you think about, their past, as an example, like whenever you are throwing a pebble in a pond and you see all these ripples, I mean, it just doesn't just drop in there and it goes down. There's all these ripples that keep on going out, just like a lot of things in our mindset. Whenever we take a look at people in our mindset, how does that affect everybody whenever their thoughts and how they ripple out towards the rest of their lives?
Well, that's an amazing question. And this is where the aha moments always happen in the coaching when it comes to mindset. So let's say, for example, one of the things that I ask people to do is we sort of take a journey, and I lead them this guided meditation. So we take this journey back to when they were much younger, when they were the total sponges, taking in all of their belief systems and everything that was happening around them, how they were thinking, what people were discussing, and, they're taking all of this in. And I ask them, so what are some of the messages that you received? Like, how did your parents talk about money, or how did your parents speak about church or in relationships, and how did the aunts and uncles and things like this come along? And it's so interesting because the people get in there, and these could be verbal messages that they received, or they could also be messages that are implied. How some parents, some people just like give you the look and right away that you better like be quiet and get out of the way type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
My dad was a look guy.
Right? Yeah, my mom was too, boy. You would just like shrivel up. You'd be like, okay. So for example, and this affects a lot of people. All right. So let's just work on that. Let's just work on the look. All right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
What happens is, for example, let's say you go to work and it could be anything. Maybe somebody got to work and they had a bad commute on the way there. And when they got into work, you happen to be the first person they came across, and they just had this look on their face, right?
Yeah.
Because they haven't quite assimilated that, okay, I've arrived to work and everything is okay. That gives you an automatic, energetic jolt back to when that parent or that authority figure gave you that look. And energetically, it goes into your body, and the first thing your mind does is, oh my God, what have I done?
Wow. So you're telling me, which, that it's not even just what's going on in our own life, but something that's happening to somebody else and what we see from them, right? So this person's bad look because they're having a rough morning can change the pattern of our entire day because of how we react to them?
Exactly. So when Craig was saying, exactly. So when you say, how does that have the ripple effect? It can be, this is how it works. It's not necessarily the same words that are used. It's not even necessarily the same action. What happens is it's on an energetic level. Let's say, for example, you do something at work and, you've done a proposal or you've done a particular job at work and you feel like you've really done a great job. And you bring it into your boss and your boss doesn't even say that this is great. He automatically goes to the things that are wrong with it. The first thing that's going to happen to you when in your childhood you received many criticisms or you received like you did something for your parents and you showed them this beautiful drawing and they were like, yeah, and they just put it aside because they didn't have time.
Right.
Yeah.
Energetically, it's going to trigger that immediately in you and you're going to say, I knew I wasn't good enough. I knew I couldn't do it, So when we say, what's the ripple effect? When I do this exercise with people and we go through and we talk about all those different messages, and they're so subtle, friends. I'm telling you, they are so subtle. People do not realize this until we actually dive in, until we actually start exploring what's actually going on in your mind. They're very, very subtle. So we get this list in front of us and I go through it and I say, well, based on this, it's telling me that you have a lack of self-confidence. And based on this, it's telling me that you are not able to speak up for yourself. You can't say no when you really mean no. Or you can't speak your truth because you're afraid to. So these are just some examples, right? And then they go, yeah, you can relate to that, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah, we can relate to it. I mean, I can say that whenever I've done mindset work, and I know I've talked to Jenny about this too, I mean, a couple of things that keep on popping up over and over again keep on being abandonment and also self-confidence, but abandonment. Yep. I mean, for me personally, I never felt ever abandoned in my life. Yep. I mean, but whenever you start working on your mind, you start realizing that you actually were abandoned in different ways, whether Jenny was talking about her friend or maybe I was supposed to get picked up at school by my parents and they were 15 minutes late. And all of a sudden, I felt abandoned. Like, why in the world weren't they there? And it just gets in your mind, and that's those ripple effects that really keep on coming at you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's awesome. And it affects every area of our life. When we do that work, suddenly our relationships change, our success in business changes, when we shift our mindset around financial issues, that changes in our lives, our relationships with children, if we have them. It's amazing the impact that it can have on that.
All right, so what we're going to do now is go to our next song, from Bruno Mars, Locked Out of Heaven.
Well, live this morning with Jenny D and Craig. Up your level, Norm. Live from Pennsylvania. With our special guest today, Kamy, live in Switzerland. See, don't tell me we don't get guests all over the world. Right, we're going back to the guys this afternoon. Lunchtime now.
Right.
Thought I'd play a nice quiet one for you there now. Right, we're back with you live, guys.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Yeah. You were like squeaking and making all sorts of noise there. That was funny.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was it?
You sound like a little mouse.
Yeah, it was like aliens coming through the line or something.
It's this chair I've got. It's my thumb.
That's funny. All right, so we are back, guys, with Kamy Lavanchy, Mindset Strategist out of Switzerland. We're so happy to have you here. And I wanted to shift our topic a little bit now, Kamy, because as most of our listeners know, Craig and I talk not only about mindset, but we talk a lot about movement and nutrition as well. But one of the things that we know with our clients when we're trying to get them to create sustainable wellness in their lives is that it's not just about nutrition or movement or mindset, but it's actually all three pieces. Mm-hmm. And so can you give us your perspective on that and how the mindset influences so greatly even the decisions that we're making every day when it comes to nutrition and movement, and also how it might influence any weight that we're holding on to or inability to gain weight?
Absolutely. And that's fantastic. And I totally agree with you, Jenny and Craig, and you know this about me, that it is all three components together. So, for example, if we're not feeling good about ourselves and let's just say we're not feeling good about ourselves, whether we're aware of why we're not feeling good or not, we're not feeling good about ourselves, that is automatically going to cause us to eat emotionally. We're not going to be able to make the right decisions, the right food decisions for ourselves, because what we're doing is we're actually nurturing that not feeling good about ourselves with foods that are what we call comfort foods, chocolates and cookies and cakes, but are not actually nurturing our body. That's one thing that can happen about the mindset, with the mindset. The other thing is when we're not doing movement. I always incorporate movement with my clients, and especially when we're doing mindset work, because if we're not moving our body, if we're not getting the juices flowing, if we don't get the blood flowing, which is, again, first thing in the morning, setting yourself up. What am I planning for my day? How am I setting myself up? Am I going to have a great day? And doing some movement at the same time, I can promise you, friends, you are definitely set up for a fabulous day, because you've energized your body, you've energized your mind, you've got synapses syncing on together and firing together, and that's fantastic. And that's a great way to get started. Now, as far as holding on to weight or not being able to gain weight, there's two different things that happen here when it comes to the emotional mindset that's being disturbed. One is we tend to hold on to weight as protection. So we spoke a lot about abandonment. You know, abandonment shows up in many different ways. We don't know that it's abandonment, but it shows up, for example, as anger. It shows up as projection. It shows up as aggressiveness. It shows up in other areas, but we don't know until we've discovered that it's actually coming from being abandoned. So, for example, we need to protect ourselves from whatever those environmental situations were around us, which has served us up until now, because obviously now we have a different awareness. Now we're an adult. We can do things differently. But if we change the mindset, we're not able to shed those extra pounds that we actually don't need, because the brain is not telling the body it's okay to let go. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it's a lot of times, too, if there's an abusive situation or there has been in the past, it's a way that we protect ourselves by putting on that weight. And, you know, interestingly, just to give the listeners an example as well, you know, as Craig and I have been on this journey in building this business, we have always been very consistent with our nutrition practices and our movement practices, and we do a ton of mindset work. Well, suddenly, as we got to a huge growth spurt in our business, I actually started putting on weight, Kamy, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah, nothing has changed, right? Where are these pounds coming from? And so I immediately had, of course, that awareness because of the mindset work we do, to know that it had to be something mindset related. And so I started digging deeper into that and doing that work. And it was actually subconsciously, I was trying to ground myself and protect myself, because if you think about being in the health and wellness space, I needed to look a certain way. So subconsciously, because I had this fear of success, which is very common in women, as we were moving forward and hitting that growth stage in our business, my body decided, well, we can hold you right here in your comfort zone if we pack on a few pounds, because then you can't put yourself out there to the world as this health and wellness expert. And as soon as I was able to tap into that and release those energies around that and move past it, the weight fell off. Nothing else had to change. And so look, this isn't going to be true necessarily for everybody, that magically you're going to change one little thing and 100 pounds is going to be released from your body. But the point here is that knowing that mindset piece is so critical, because many times people try program after program to release weight, to change their body, to find better health, and they can't do it. And they don't understand why. And a lot of times it's not because of the nutrition or the movement, but it is because of a piece in the mindset that has them stuck right where they are. And because it doesn't feel safe to release, they can't do that. And the other thing is, if we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're constantly ridiculing ourselves, that also becomes an issue.
Absolutely. Two things that I want to touch on. One is when it comes to some sort of physical abuse, and as you guys know about my story, and my primary caretaker has borderline personality disorder, there was a lot of physical and emotional and verbal abuse, which sets you up for all kinds of problems, let's just say emotionally, and putting yourself out there. So
Absolutely.
Any type of abuse, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's verbal, does all kinds of things to people's brain on the inside. And until you actually discover that and you get inside and allow yourself to release that, we'll always have problems with achievement. We'll have problems with self-confidence, feeling good about ourselves, taking our space. So you putting on the weight I was going to say, which you came to, was also about protecting yourself. And it can also be another thing, Jenny, about taking your place and taking your space. And sometimes when we step into our space and into our power, we do tend to put on a few pounds because we are taking our space. But that tends to also shed rather quickly as well.
Yeah, we have to take up more room. We're like, I'm here.
Exactly, exactly. And then you said also about people who need to put on weight. And sometimes these people have a mindset that they don't belong, depending on whatever it was that their surroundings, the messages that their surrounding was giving them. It was more about, be seen but don't be heard, or don't be present, if you know what I'm saying. So these people have a tendency to not be able to put on weight because they're trying to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that makes so much sense. That's a new one for me, Kamy. Thank you for bringing that up. And
I also I want to recognize you for being so authentic on this show and for really exposing yourself in real life, because sometimes people think, oh, you're on the show, you're some sort of hero, but we're just as human as everybody else, which is why we're doing this work.
That's exactly right. I mean, you've got to really put yourself out there, and and that's what you have to do every single day. I mean, a lot of times we hide behind so many different things because we don't want to put ourselves out there. I mean, even with our families, at work, with ourselves, I mean, whenever we're looking in the mirror, we even have a hard time doing that, but you've got to put yourself out there. That's the only way you're ever going to get better and heal that mind.
Yeah. So, Kamy, I know we're getting time. Yeah, go ahead.
I said we could go on for a really long time, but I know we're getting short on time.
We could, yeah.
We are. So what are just a couple of things, Kamy, as we leave the show today, that our listeners can do right away to really start changing some of their mindset patterns? I know that it takes working very closely with a coach to dig into some of these deep things that are going on, but what can they start doing right away to change their patterns?
Well, really depending on whatever their situation is, I'm just going to throw a few things out there, because the primary things that people have are, a lack of self-confidence, a lack of being enough, abandonment, fear of change. So what I would suggest to the listeners, and this is something they can do immediately, is just start telling yourself, I'm a confident person. I have the perfect body weight. I can accomplish anything. Just use positive affirmations in the present moment related to any situation that you're in. And
because those can actually rewire your mind, correct?
Completely. We should do a whole nother episode on neuroscience and how your mind works.
That'd be great.
But it totally will. It will rewire their mind. And then, program your phone. I love to use our phone as a tool and program in your reminders. I'm an amazing person. I'm confident. I'm accomplishing things. Procrastination no longer serves me. Do it now. These are the types of things that you want to be telling yourself to raise your energy. And I promise you, before long, you will see that you are moving your body, that you are changing your words more positive, that you are taking care of yourself in a much different way.
Absolutely. And there's one other thing that I'll add to that, is to write a list of your top 10 accomplishments in your life and carry that with you all the time, whether it's on a piece of paper or in your phone. And throughout the day, constantly read these accomplishments to reinforce in your own mind how amazing you actually are, the strength and the power that you have, and what you have accomplished in your life. It's an amazing tool, again, to raise that energy. And so, we just want you all to know, leaving here, that you have the power within you to do anything that you want to to do. Kamy,
Yes, you do.
we are so grateful that you were on with us today.
Thank you so much.
And for those of
you.
you that are interested in learning more, you can go to our Facebook page, Craig and Jenny D, and go in there into the shop area, and there is a link in there to click to learn more about an amazing program that Kamy is doing with us right now, and that's getting ready to launch here on February 12th, so you can learn more about that in there, where we'll be working in a group coaching session to help people begin to make these significant changes in their mindset to achieve radical success this year. And so we look forward to seeing everybody in there, certainly, that wants to join us for that. It's going to be a fabulous program. And Kamy, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been wonderful, and I know you've helped our listeners with some takeaways to really start making
Yes, you
some
certainly
changes
did.
as they leave here today.
Yeah, thanks,
Fantastic.
Kamy. Thank you so much, Kamy, today. You've been an absolute star, and we'd love you to come back on again in the future.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks, Kamy.
Thank you very much. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to Leanne Rimes and Can't Fight the Moonlight.
Okay, guys, I'll speak to you in 2 weeks' time.
Sounds great,
good.
David.
You take
Talk
care,
to
you
then.
guys.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks.
Lots
Have a
of
good
love.
day, guys.
Bye now.